Let's draw a squirrel. You've probably seen lots of squirrels in your neighborhood, no matter where you live. Did you know that there are more than 200 squirrel species around the world? They live on every continent except for Australia and Antarctica. Squirrels are one of the most common mammals in North America. Most ground squirrels are brown or brown and gray to blend in with the dirt around their burrow where they live. A chipmunk is actually a ground squirrel. Tree squirrels are gray, brown, red, and black with a white or tan underbelly and have a bushier tail than ground squirrels. Tree squirrels live in wooded areas since they live in trees. Flying squirrels are so cool. They have a membrane called a patagium that stretches from their wrist to their ankle that allows them to glide from tree to tree. Flying squirrels are nocturnal. Squirrels are in the rodent family along with mice and rats. A squirrel's front teeth never stop growing. This way, they always have strong, sharp teeth for gnawing acorns and other nuts. Squirrels have very big eyes to help them see while climbing and escaping predators. They also have a very good sense of smell, which helps them find nuts that are buried under the ground. Today, we are going to draw a typical gray tree squirrel eating an acorn. You can look at any image that you'd like of a squirrel, or perhaps you might sit in your backyard and watch a squirrel and try to draw it along with us. You may choose to do a watercolor painting of a squirrel or pencil drawing in black and white. I will show you both ways. Or you may want to use a material of your choice. For the watercolor squirrel, you will need a pencil, watercolor paper, watercolors, and paintbrush. We'll start by sketching it out in pencil. Okay, to make a squirrel, I'm going to start with a squirrel that's kind of sitting up eating an acorn. So I'm going to want to make sure I have room on my page for the big bushy tail, the body, and the head. So I'm going to start by putting the tail over here because it's just going to be a little line to describe the tail right here. Make sure I have enough room for it. Then I'm going to sketch out the basic shape of the body, which is kind of upright and then curves over like it's leaning over a little bit. And then I'm going to make the head at the top. I'm using very sketchy lines to start with, just starting to understand the relationships between the shapes. The acorn's going to be right here, and then the little hands are going to be roughly like this with the arm coming back. I'm working nice and light and I'm holding my pencil way at the end so I can still change my marks and make new decisions as I'm drawing. The feet are going to be down here. And then the ears are I'm just going to put two lines for the ears. So that's sort of the basic shape of my squirrel. Now, I am going to start making some more details in the head. So I'm going to draw this curved line at the top between the ears. And then I'm going to notice those nice pointy ears of the squirrel. Not quite as tall as a rabbit's ear, but they're pretty straight up and down. The other one coming back this way. And then I'm going to start noticing the curve of the head, coming down to this sweet little nose. And that nose is going to be maybe smelling the acorn. Make sure you have an eraser. And then I'm going to make the little mouth coming back this way. Before I get too far, I want to make sure I put the eye. And the eye is going to be, if I were to draw a line from the head to the nose, the eye is going to be somewhere along that line. So I'm going to make the eye kind of like an almond shape. almost like makeup on. And I can make the little dots here for the whiskers. And then I'm going to start sketching the shape of the body. It's got a curved back. It's going to kind of come straight down. And then I'm going to come over here to the arms. And I'm going to see this arm is coming this way. It's going to get skinnier at the wrists, and then it gets wider as it comes back. And then I'm going to notice the shape of the head coming underneath. Then I'm going to make my little acorn shape in that it's holding. And then it's got the other fingers here. It's got 4 fingers on each little hand. It's got this little neck. And then I'm going to notice the relationship between this part of the belly is going to be lined up a little bit with the eye. So it's actually going to be a little bit bigger. It's going to come down like this. And then this is going to be the line of the white part of the belly. And this is going to be kind of like the thigh right here. And then I'm going to make the little tail. It's going to be, I already have that line showing the shape of the tail, but now I'm going to make it kind of fuzzier, noticing the outline of the tail. It's very bushy, and it also has a nice little curve to it. You can decide to do this as a pencil sketch, or you might do it as a watercolor painting. I'm going to do it as a watercolor painting, so I'm going to just make the basic shapes. Now I want to look at the feet of my squirrel. And I'm going to see that one foot is going to be sticking out here. The other one's going to be back a little bit. Up a little bit. Now there's the basic shape of my squirrel. I'm going to put a little more detail on my acorn. There we go. Now I can decide where I want my squirrel to be. First I'm going to make the tail a little bit bushier. Give a little bit of fur on there. Make my tail a little bit fluffier. Maybe there's some oak leaves on the ground. It's underneath an oak tree, eating that acorn. Maybe some other kinds of leaves here and there. Just the basic squirrel shape. Now I'm going to get my watercolors. And I'm going to get some brushes. Different sizes. And I'm going to have a little paper towel to sop up the water. And of course, I'm going to use some water. So the first thing I'm going to do is to paint the background of my squirrel. I'm going to imagine my squirrel is now when I'm thinking about the colors for my squirrel, I'm going to use a medium-sized brush and I'm going to put in the lights and darks. So I'm going to start with a nice dark brown, brownish black. And I'm going to start noticing the dark areas of the tail. and have that contrast to the body. I'm going to use a medium-sized brush. I'm going to start putting in the darks in the squirrel itself. So the first darkest thing is going to be the eye. Leaving that little white shine. And I'm going to think about a combination of browns, grays, and black. So of course I'm going to use a little bit of my white acrylic to mix in for the lights. The nose is a little dark on it. Just gonna start putting in some of the fur. That's gonna be a little darker under here. You can paint your squirrel however you'd like. I'm going to put a little bit of light around the eye. That little makeup that it's wearing. A little light underneath the nose. And of course, lots of white on the belly. A little bit of golden in there. Just have fun painting your squirrel. Don't worry too much about what it looks like. Using lots of fur-like marks, blending it all in, getting that sweet little fat body, little round body. Bring in some white, make that fluffy tail. A little brown for the acorn. Bring in some more white in the tail. I'm going to start to try to define those little hands a little bit more. Some black lines. A little pink into the ears. little bit of blue around it, like it's a nice fall day. And I'm going to bring in some greens in between the little leaves down here. Maybe some browns, because it's maybe like forest floor. Now I can just look and decide if I need to bring any more lights or darks into my squirrel. I think I'm going to bring a little bit more brownish color in the face. Almost reddish. A few little white highlights. I'm going to make the little whiskers. To make the squirrel as a pencil sketch, we're going to start the same way. We're going to start by just noticing how to fit the whole squirrel onto the page. So it's got a verticality with how it's standing upright, but then it's got this big bushy tail. So it's almost like a diagonal line for the body and a little curvy line for the tail. Now, I'm gonna imagine the head is gonna be about this big, because I really wanna make sure it fits on my page. I'm using a fairly small piece of paper, maybe 4 by 6, but you can use whatever size you want. And then I'm gonna save room for the ears, make sure they fit right up at the top. Then from the head, it's gonna come back and make a curved line for that back, a rounded back like it's got kind of a slouch. And then it comes straight down and it's got this round belly. Now we've got this line that separates the white belly and the gray back. It's also right along the thigh. Then underneath the head, we've got this line that would be without the arm, but then we've got this arm coming here, coming back, coming up, and then the acorn's going to be right underneath the head. Make the head a little bit bigger. So I'm really just kind of looking at the image and feeling my way around the page, trying to just block in the shapes, block in the shape of the hand, not getting too worried about details. But I really am looking at angles and relationships, how the shapes, oh see, now this line comes way into the belly and it comes back here. So you're gonna, the more you start looking at how one line compares to another line, you're gonna start noticing your proportions are gonna start getting better in your drawings. So I'm gonna just the basic shape of the head. It's got a nice big neck. And I'm just gonna make 2 lines to show where the feet are gonna be. And then the tail is gonna be this nice, fluffy, curvy, spirally kind of shape. And it's going to actually come up quite higher than what I just drew, so I'm gonna make it even higher. The reason we want to start working light is so we can make all those changes as we notice relationships and proportions. Okay, so I think I've got pretty much my general proportions down. How are you doing? Now, I'm going to look a little bit more at the head, and I'm going to see that I've got this little line in between the 2 ears, and then the ear has a little fold over here, but it does go straight up. It's that little fold, and then it kind of comes down almost like a little mini rabbit ear. And then this one is in the back, so it appears to be a little bit smaller. And then it's kind of a 3/4 view, so this is like almost that bump of the eye. And then it kind of comes straight down to that cute little nose. And then I can make, after the nose, we're gonna make it almost looks like it's smiling, doesn't it? It'd be so cute. And then it's got a little chin. Kind of got a double chin. And then it's got this furry, furry chest. Now, between the ear and the nose, if you were to draw a line the eye would be somewhere right along that line. So I'm going to draw the shape of the eye. It's got a curve at the top, and it's got a curve at the bottom. And then it's got these little lines underneath it, like makeup. A little light line here and a light line here. And then I'm going to imagine the little reflections, and I can even start shading in that eye. I'm working with a 2B pencil right now, which is kind of a mid pencil. If I want to get darker, I can use my 6B. If I want to get more graphic lines, I can use my H. So I'm going to stick with my 2B for now. Now I'm going to notice this is a little bit thicker in the back. And then it's almost like you can see this bump here, and then another bump here. So I'm just getting a little more detailed in my shapes. I'm going to cut down here. And the front paw comes down like this. And then I'm going to notice that delicate little hand, but how it relates to the acorn. So this is the acorn here. Point to it, some lines coming around, and then I can notice the shape of the fingers. So this side, you just see this part of the fingers. 1, 2, 4 fingers on each hand, and then in this one we've got 1. They're not that different than human hands in drawing, but they've got very sharp claws or fingernails. Then I'm going to come back down here and notice I do see a little bit of this arm coming back behind that arm, and then I've got this nice fuzzy light belly. Just kind of suggest the feet at the bottom. Now, I'm going to start noticing my lights and darks. I'm going to erase any extra lines that I don't need anymore. I'm going to put this line back because that's the line of the belly. I switched to my, oh no, I'm still using my 2B. I'm going to switch to my H. Just going to start noticing what areas are darker, what areas are lighter. So the area of this part of the tail is definitely darker than the back. But I'm using my H, so it's going to be not as dark as it will be eventually. I'm just kind of getting the basic shapes down. I'm doing a lot of scribbling. Be a little darker down here. So really just looking at lights and darks. It's going to be a little darker under here. Darker under here. Using this delicate H pencil. It's a little more forgiving than the darker pencils because it's not as much of a huge mark. You can be a little more delicate with your shading. This squirrel has eaten a lot of acorns because it looks like it's very well fed. I'm going to change the shape of this belly a little bit. And also make it a little darker around in the negative spaces, and that's going to make the white areas pop a little bit more. I'm going to switch to my 6B. Get some real dark darks like in the eye. You see how it's a richer dark, richer black. Little holes for the whiskers. Make this even darker back here. Using nice fluffy marks for the tail. This is going to be dark back here. Show that curve, but then it's going to be very fluffy marks. Make that negative space again to make that tail look a little whiter. At this point, you can just keep switching up with your pencils and notice which ones you prefer. And notice that now that you've got the basic shape, you can't really change the shape once you have it established, but you can start adding some texture. So you want to make your marks go sort of in the direction of the squirrel's shape. So these lines are going to go around the arm. Just imagining all that fur. And then these lines are going to go more along the back. So that's kind of like a cross contour line. Keeping that white part white in the front. You're also noticing relative lights and darks, like this part of the back is much darker than the belly, but it's much lighter than the tail, at least this part of the tail. You also use your eraser to pull out some light areas in the tail.